everyone, you're welcome back to my channel. Today's tutorial is the continuation of last week's tutorial, so let's get started. So at first I'm going to be showing you the material that I use. Alright, so this is a skin tone material. So for you to get the exact shade for your skin, you need to match it with the inner part of your arm and not the back. Match it with the inner part of your arm. If it matches properly, then that is what you should use. I'm going to be using this one. Alright, see this is also another one. You can see that it doesn't match with the inner part of my arm, whereas if I turn the back part of my arm, you can see it matches. But I don't need this because it doesn't match the inner part of my arm. It means it's not going to match my tummy area. Or you can also check it against your tummy, but instead of going through the stress of opening your tummy, just check it with your arm. Alright, so this is a nude mesh, and you can see it's still the same process. For you to determine whether it matches, just match it with the inner part of your arm, and that's all. Alright, so this nude material, they're actually new in the market, so most of the vendors don't have yet, but you can just ask around. I believe if you ask around, you're going to see they are actually new. It comes in crepe, it comes in duchess, and also satin. Alright, so just tell them you want skin tone material. Alright, so I'm going to be using this lace as well. I used just 2 yards, and I don't think I finished the 2 yards, it's still remaining. And I'm using this satin for the lining because it's lace. We are going to be using double lining, and this is the main lining. So first we line with the satin and main lining, then that is the stay. And also I will be using bony to create support for the bust, and also I'll be using my nail file so that I can use it to file the bone. And also this is my hoo-hoo gum, and I'll also be using this velvet ribbon. Alright, so let's get into the cutting process. So at first I prepare my fabric. I fuse the stay on my lining, and I also fuse it on the main material, just the way I'm showing you. And after that I drafted the pattern. The only difference is that I extend my waist length by 6 inches. You can see we're going to be talking about that, but at first let me just draft this. If you want to know how to draft this, I have a detailed tutorial on it. You can check it out. The link will be in the description box. So I'm drafting my princess that bustier with yoke. I've explained this in the last class, so please don't forget to watch that as well. Alright, so I'm done drafting my princess that bustier with yoke, because that is the pattern I'm going to be using for this tutorial. You can see I extend my waist length by 6 inches. You extend your waist length by 6 inches. Afterwards, you extend your dart legs just the way I'm showing you now. So that's 6 inches extension. You can see, just extend everything to that 6 inches extension. And at the side, under your 6 inches side, you need to measure whatever you have on the waistline. You add extra 1 inch to that measurement, and then you put it at the bottom part just like this. Then you connect it just the way I've done it here. Alright, so the only difference now is that your waist length is extended by 6 inches. Don't forget that, so that you can get that basque effect. Alright, okay, so I started by cutting out the yoke. Then after that I placed the lining on top of the skin tone material. Then I cut out the body just the way I'm showing you. So this is this after cutting. So I'm going to use the yoke to cut out the net. You can see I've cut out the yoke. So now this is the body, so I'm going to open it up. This is one side of the body, this is the second side, and this is the center panel. So this is the pattern. So the next thing you want to do now is to put your net on top of this skin material. You are going to be putting your net on top of it like this, so that you can cut out the net. And how do you do this? What you're going to do is to get your emming gum. You cut it small, and then you place it on top of it. Then you put the net on top and iron, so that the two of them can gum together. Alright, so by the time you are done placing the emming gum, you're going to take your pressing iron, then you are going to apply steam. Please, when you're doing this, be careful, don't let the face of your iron touch the emming gum. If not, it's going to gum to the surface of your pressing iron and that will be messy, you know. So don't do that. Just apply the steam, don't let the iron touch the emming gum or the material. So this steam will allow the emming gum to like sort of melt, you know, so that by the time you place the net on top of it, it's not going to be showing on the net. Everything just look flawless, you know. So that's why you need to first apply the steam so that it can kind of melt the emming gum. All right, so after that you are going to place the net on top of the material just the way I'm showing you. Do it nicely and gently, be careful, you know. If you like, if your iron is so good, you can iron it directly just the way I'm doing. But if you think your iron will burn the net, you may want to first off put another material on top of the net before you press it. Alright, so by the time you're done joining the two of them together, the next thing is just to cut it out just the way I'm showing you here. Alright, so after cutting, you're going to go ahead and join it all up and sew it all together nicely. Alright, so I'm done sewing the patterns together and this is how it's looking. I've done a tutorial on how you can achieve all of this. Please kindly watch last week's tutorial. Alright, so last week I've showed you how you couple it all up to this stage. Alright, so now I've joined all the patterns together, I've sewed them nicely, I've inserted the cup, I've fixed the yoke and all of that. So the next thing you want to do now is to create your basque effect. So I'm going to turn the material to the wrong side so that you can see the previous shocking, because I actually shocked the pattern on the lining, so the shock is still visible. So that's why I turn it to the wrong side so that you can see it. So here is my armhole, my nipple point, my under bust, and my waist length. And the distance from my waist length to the hem of this dress now is 6 inches. So from my waist length, I'm going to measure 1.5 inches downward, and I'll mark it just the way I'm showing you. So from that 1.5 inches that I measured down from the waist length, I'm going to slant it to the middle of the dress like this. So just slant it to the center this way. Then after that, you're going to be cutting it out. So by the time you cut it out and you open it, it's going to look like this. So it's going to be looking like this. Alright, so the next thing I'm going to do now is to cut out the remaining length of my gown. My total gown length is 42 inches plus my seam allowance of 2 inches. That will be 44. Then I'm going to minus my waist length from that 44 inches. So 44 minus 17 will give me 27. So the remaining length of my gown here now is going to be 27. Alright, so I've ruled my guideline. From there, I measure down my hip line, which is 8 inches from the starting point. Or better still, you can just put the 17 on top of the guideline. And from then, you take your remaining vertical measurement. So I just place the 17 on the guideline that I ruled. Then I measure my gown length like so. So now I measure the 44 inches. So after that, I extend the line. So that's the length of my gown. Then let me cut it out so that we can have just this piece to work with. So this is the guideline. This is the hip line, and of course the length of the gown. So the next I'm going to do now, on the guideline, I'm going to insert my waist measurements divided by 4 plus 2 inches seam allowance. Then on the hip line, I'm going to put my hip measurements divided by 4 plus 2 inches seam allowance. Then whatever I have on the hip line, I'm going to minus 2 inches from it, and I'm going to put it at the hem. So that is how to get the pencil effect. So I'm going to use my hip cuff to connect from the waist to the hip, and then I'm going to roll it and just connect it from the hip straight to the hem like so. Alright, so the next thing now, from the guideline, that is the waist length there, you are going to measure 1.5 inches downward like this, and then you make a point. Then you are going to place the upper part that you finished earlier, place it on top of it like I'm showing you here. Let the side touch the 1.5 inches that you measured downward like so. You know that 1.5 inches that you ruled, let it match it like so, and let the center of the upper part align with the center of the skirt part. You can see, let it match very well, and then you trace out the shape like I'm showing you here. Just trace out the shape. So when you're done tracing it, you take it off. So this is how it's looking. So the next thing you want to do now is to add your 1/2 inch seam allowance to this point. So this line, this slant line that you have there, just add your seam allowance of 1/2 inch to it. Then after that, you cut it out. It's very easy and simple. If you have any question, please leave it in the comment section. I will be happy to reply your question. Alright, so when you're done cutting, if you open it up, this is how it looks. So if you place the upper parts on top of it, it's going to look this way. You can see that is my seam allowance by the side. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do now is to use this satin that I cut out to cut out the lining. So first I place my lining into 2 folds, then I place the satin on top of it, and then I use it to cut the lining out. The only difference is that the lining is 2 inches shorter than this satin. That's the only difference now. Alright, so the next thing I'm going to do is to lay the satin flat just the way I'm showing you here. I'm going to place my lace on top of it, and then I'm going to use it to cut out the lace. Alright, so I'm done cutting the lace out. Next thing I'm going to do is to use my emming gum to gum both the lace and the satin together. So just place the emming gum underneath the lace just the way I'm showing you. So the emming gum is between the lace and the satin. Then you're going to use your pressing iron to iron it down. So I just place my lining on top of it so that I can cover the iron. So that the iron will not burn it. So I just use my lining to cover it so that I can use it to iron it. Alright, so after the process, this is how the down part is looking. Both the lace and the satin have become one. So the next thing we're going to be doing now is to create the bony channel on the upper part of the dress. So you can create any design of your choice. You must not necessarily do this one I'm doing. You can even use it to create a false kind of corset on it. Alright, so you can place it in any way you like, in any design. You can put any decorative trimmings or anything you prefer. It mustn't be this velvet ribbon. And you can even create a bony channel directly. Instead of using the velvet ribbon, you can cut out fabric to create the bony channel, just like I did inside this corset tutorial. And also you can even cut the upper part like a corset too. So just watch this tutorial in case you don't know how to cut corset. And you can also create the bony channel on the lining. It mustn't be on the right side. You can make it to be on the lining. You can just create the channel on the lining and then you put the bony. But you know, if you put it on the main fabric, it serves as decoration, you know. So I'll be cutting out my velvet ribbon now. So I'll just place it and decide how I want it to be. Then after that, I'm going to just cut it out. Alright, so after cutting it to my desired taste, what I'm going to do next is to take it to the sewing machine and I'm going to stitch it down. So first I'm going to stitch on one side just the way I'm showing you here. Then after that I'll turn it, then I'll sew the second side. Then I'm going to top stitch on the upper part like this. Alright, so I'm done using the velvet ribbon to create my bony Chanel. The next thing I'm going to do now is to insert my bony. So just place your boning on top of it and use it to measure the length that you have. Let the bony be ½ inch shorter than the Chanel so that the bony will not get to the waistline, so that it's not going to enter into the seam allowance at the lower part of the gown. So that's how you are going to continue until you cut out the bony for all the available Chanel. Then after that, you are going to just file the mouth just the way I'm showing you here, both up and down. Just file the mouth so that it won't be poking out of the Chanel. That's the sense of doing that. Alright, so when this is done, the next thing we are going to be doing now is to join both the upper part of the gown and the lower part together. So just match their center together, like I'm showing you here, the center of the skirt part and the center of the upper body. Smash it together and then you're going to pin. And after pinning, you're going to be joining it together. And I'm going to start the joining from the center. That's the way I like to join it so that everything can be perfect. So I'm starting the joining from the center this way. So from the midpoint, I'll just stitch it all the way to the side seam. Alright, so when I'm done, the next thing I'm going to do is to notch this center before I continue. So I'll just notch the center. Just make a small cut. Please let it not be too deep. Make a small cut like about 1/4 inch. Alright, so starting from the center again, I'm going to stitch it all the way to the second side. Alright, so when you're done sewing, the next thing you want to do is to notch it all around. Just make small cuts. Please don't cut your seam, and if you open it up, this is how it's looking. So the next thing you want to do now is to use lining to turn it. So just fold it back the way it was and then you place the lining on top of it, and then you're going to be using the lining to turn it. Don't forget to also notch the center of the lining. Then from that center, you place it to the center of the bodice like I'm showing you here. Then you are going to stitch the lining together with the body. Alright, so when you're done, you notch, and then after that you close the down part. Then you sew the two sides, leaving about 5 inches space so that you'll be able to bring it to the right side. As you can see, I jumped about 5 inches. Then from that point, I sew it close all the way down. Then from that little space that I left, I'm going to dip my hand inside and I'm going to bring the dress to the right side. Okay, so this is it, and this is how it's looking from the wrong side. You can see everything is laying flat. So the next thing I'm going to be doing next is to cut out the flower that I'm going to be patching on the dress. So I'm just going to take the remaining fabric and I'm going to cut out my flower using my scissors the way I'm showing you here. Alright, so after cutting out my flower, I'm going to be placing it on the dress the way I want it to be. For easy placement, you can pin this down on your dress form before you do this step. But if you don't have dress form, it's okay. You can still do it the way I'm doing it. That's why I'm showing you like this. And when you're done and you're happy with your placement, you're going to use your uhu gum or any fabric glue of your choice to gum this together. And that's how you're going to continue until you're done placing the petals the way you want it to be on the dress. And note, if you are gumming this to the body, please you have to be very careful. Don't allow the pressure you are putting to flatten your breast area. Please don't allow the pressure putting on to press down the breast. So just do it gently. If you don't have dress form, like I said, you can place some material inside the cup and then so that it can follow the shape of the breast. So I'm done placing the petals the way I want. The next thing I want to do now is to make the drapings that I added to the skirt part of the gown. So the length of this is 34 inches. So I'm just going to place it on the material and I'm going to drape it. And after forming your pleat or your drapes, the next thing you want to do is to take to the sewing machine and tack the center down and also the two sides. So you just make your stitch at the center this way and also at the side like so. Alright, so I'm going to be doing that. Alright, so I'm done joining it together. The next thing you want to do is to cut the excess fabric by the sides. So just trim off the excess fabric by the side. Alright, so this is it. You can see that our cup is still intact. So if you turn it to the right side, this is how it's looking. And basically the next thing you want to just do is to work on the back. Alright, so this is the back of my dress. And I also cut out my sleeve. The next thing I'll do is just to join the shoulders together, fix my sleeve, and then I'm going to close the side, and that's all. And that's it, our dress is ready. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in my next tutorial. Bye.